Caleb Creel here. I was really excited about recording outside this afternoon. Then all of a sudden, this huge rainstorm just came by and kind of dampened everything. It's almost like all of our plans for 2020 in a metaphor right here. So here I am sitting, imagining myself outside. We've been going through Hope in House Arrest, our series through Philippians. So I want you to go ahead and turn to Philippians chapter 2 right now. And our passage today is verses 19 through 30. So to start off, what I want you to do is pause this video and read those verses. All right, so go ahead, pause it right now. I'll wait. Don't worry. And go ahead and read that real quick. Chapter 2, verses 19 through 30. All right, you done? Great. Okay, so the idea I want to encourage us with today from this passage is that the church cares. We have hope because the church cares. And so in this passage, we see a couple different guys who are an example of this. And the first one is Timothy. And the lesson I think we learned from Timothy here is that Christians should be growing in their care for others. So if you're a Christian, part of your growth as a disciple is growing in your care for others. So I want you to reflect kind of over these last couple months and think, who has shown me care in these difficult months lately? Anybody? Can you think of someone who has reached out, encouraged you, showed that they care for you? And now let's turn that around and think, if I'm a Christian, what have I done to show my care for others? Think about that. Like, how have I reached out intentionally in the middle of a hard situation to care for others? So as I think about this, as I look at the picture of Paul investing in Timothy, because that's one of my favorite pictures of discipleship, we see that Paul has trained Timothy to love others and care for others. That was part of the discipleship process for them. So you can measure your growth in discipleship by your growth in love and care for disciples. You can measure your growth in discipleship by the growth of your love for disciples. So think about that in your life. Now, there are a lot of times that it's hard to love and care for others. And what is it that makes it hard to care about others? When we think about differences, for some reason, differences become a place where it becomes really hard to care about other people. Why is that? What makes it difficult? You know, you think about someone who goes to another school, this rivalry forms, and all of a sudden over something as small as where you learn, you might say that you hate somebody because they go to another school. Or think about someone who's a different age. You might feel like, why should I care about this person? They're 5 years older than me, or they're 2 years younger than me. Forget that. They're not in my circle. And we form these cliques so quickly about people who like the same hobbies, play the same sport, and it becomes something that keeps us from caring about others. And lately, of course, the biggest one we've seen is how race can become something that leads others not to care about others. As Christians, we can't give into that. We have to be someone who reaches out, proactively loving others, even when they're different than us. If we are united in Christ, we are more in common than anyone, and even our blood relatives. So we need to be growing in love for each other. So how have you shown care for others lately? Think about that. If you're a Christian, you should be growing in your care for others. Okay, I'm tired of being inside, so I'm just going to come out in the rain anyways, and it's okay because I needed to break in these swim trunks. Molly was kind of hating on my old pair, said they all look like dad trunks. So I got these new ones, so I guess a discussion question of the week, are these still dad trunks or not? You can let me know. But as we carry on through this passage, there's a second person we see. We see Epaphroditus. So Paul's been talking about Timothy, but now as he talks about Epaphroditus, I think one of the things we see about the church's care is the church should care for all aspects of people's needs. And when I say the church, I just want to be clear. I'm talking about you and me. If you're a Christian, you are the church. And that's why the church is when we come together as a body. But we see several ways that there are different needs being met in this passage. First off, we see Epaphroditus cared for Paul's suffering. So as Christians, we should care for suffering. Epaphroditus looked for Paul in prison and came and met his needs. We see Paul and the Philippians are worried about Epaphroditus' physical needs. So we see a care for physical needs. Think about people who are hungry or homeless who are in need of things. How can we as Christians meet those needs? Then we also see Paul worried about the Philippians' emotional needs. He's sending Epaphroditus because he knows they are worried about him. They heard Epaphroditus was sick, and he wants them to be comforted and rejoice in knowing that he's okay. And that's why Paul sends Epaphroditus. So Christians should care about emotional needs. You know, anxiety and depression are very real. And we know that in this season, many of us have been feeling those things more than ever. And so I hope that you know that we as believers want to come alongside you And if there's any way we can love you and walk with you in this season, please, we want to do that. And then the last way we see needs being met is we see the church being encouraged to care for the needs of those who work for the gospel. And so Paul challenges the Philippians, when Epaphroditus comes, I want you to encourage him, care for him, and meet his needs. So as Christians, I want us to think that there are needs that come in all areas of life that we should be looking to meet. So when you think about your friends, when you think about people you don't even know, are you willing to meet those needs? Is that your first impulse? When you see a physical need, is your first impulse, I'm opening my wallet. I'm willing to do what I can to care for this person. When you see someone who is struggling emotionally, whether that's anxiety or depression or any other challenges emotionally, do you come alongside them, wrap your arms around them and say, I love you, I care for you, and I'm here for you? That's our response as Christians. So the only discussion questions I want to leave you with this week is, first off, how do you see the gospel in this passage? I want you to think about it yourself. Love to see, post, or hear from you. And then the second one, how does this impact my life? What is something I can do this week to show that I care for others? As I said, you can measure your growth in discipleship by measuring your love for disciples. I want you to take that away this week. It's a great passage. I encourage you to read back through it and think about how God would speak to your life. Thanks for tuning in this week. See you next time.